There is a popular complaint that I see repeated online whenever drones are mentioned that goes something like this: idiot drone owners have ruined it for everyone. This usually results in a chorus of approval, with other drone owners whinging about reckless individuals, but there's rarely any actual evidence of the idiotic behaviour they're talking about. And so, in the spirit of fairness and balance, I would just like to argue to the contrary. I put it to you that the whole idiot drone owner is mostly bollocks, and while you get idiots in every hobby, recreational drone owners have been handed the shitty end of the stick for years. Yep, I'm sure you've seen it yourself in the old regional drone group on Facebook or on Reddit, or indeed anywhere that a few drone owners gather together. There's always at least one guy with a stick up his arse who apparently believes that the state of drone regulations are entirely due to other misbehaving drone owners. The problem seems to be particularly bad here in Australia, where we not only have some of the most needlessly restrictive drone rules in the world, but also generations of Australians conditioned to bend over and present their arse cheeks in the face of authority. The thing is, not only are idiot drone owners not responsible for the current regulations, but the idiot drone owner is a much rarer creature than they'd have you believe, and I can prove it. Firstly, and most obviously, the current regulations governing the use of consumer quadcopters in Australia, and I suppose most other countries, predates the vast majority of actual drone use. Most of the rules we've become used to existed in the original UAV regulations from back in 2002. For instance, the populous area and line of sight rules are both in that original Part 101 legislation. When the rules were amended in 2016, the 30-metre rule, the 120-metre height rule and the airport 5.5-kilometre rule were all added. Yes, 2016, when the DJI Phantom 3 ruled the skies and the percentage of drones in hobbyists' hands was a minuscule number. 2016, before drones became a target of hatred in the mainstream media and before the community Facebook group Dropkicks and Bogans began suggesting they'd shoot any drone flying over their property. But why were the rules changed here in Australia in 2016? Officially, it was to establish the standard operating conditions for drones, or RPA as CASA refer to them. It was also to introduce the flight notification requirements, to ban autonomous flight, and to add weight categorizations for RPA. Unofficially, it looked like the authorities were shitting themselves about the forecast popularity of consumer drones. But let's be clear, it wasn't because of any serious incidents involving drones, because there hadn't been any. And if we exclude the famous Bunnings snag drone incident, in which nothing but CASA's pride was hurt, there still haven't been any serious incidents. The regulations as they exist now have been implemented because, as one government advisor put it, incidents are expected to become more common as sales continue to skyrocket. This kind of attitude, clamping down despite the fact that there was no significant evidence of foolhardy drone use, was backed 100% by lobbyists within the commercial drone licensing sector. Yes, companies with a vested interest in forcing the adoption of costly licensing and registration championed the cause for official enforcement of costly licensing and registration. Companies such as the ones that ran remote pilots license courses. Companies who stood to benefit massively from the rule changes operated as bogeymen, suggesting that the increasing adoption of drones by Joe Public and flown for fun would end in disaster. The idiot hobby drone user would ruin it for everyone. But since nothing bad whatsoever had ever happened in Australia, these corporate entities used incidents that occurred in other countries. For instance, in 2016, the story went about that a drone had collided with a commercial passenger jet at Heathrow Airport and caused it some damage. Commercial drone companies here in Australia were quick to reference this when interviewed by TV and print media. These stories about that 2016 Heathrow incident all make reference to a suspected drone because, apart from the pilot's initial reports, there was absolutely no evidence to back up the claim. And weirdly, the world's press organisations weren't as quick to report the result of the official inquiry into that suspected drone/aircraft collision in London. The UK's then Transport Secretary, Patrick McLaughlin, told Parliament that what was thought to be Britain's first recorded incident of a collision between a UAV and an airliner was probably, quote, not a drone incident after all, unquote. The list of serious incidents involving drones here in Australia is both short and undramatic. In 2013, a drone was found on Sydney Harbour Bridge. After an investigation by the police and CASA, the drone was found to have malfunctioned while on a legal flight. The situation was deemed to be unsuspicious and the drone was returned to the pilot. In 2014, a drone filming an athletics race crashed behind a runner and spooked her. The drone owner was fined $1,700 for flying the drone within 30 metres of people. In 2016, a drone crashed into the Australian War Memorial in Canberra, but landed safely and without further incident, and the drone pilot was fined $900. In 2021, a DJI Inspire 2 had a flyaway incident due to magnetic compass interference and smashed into a hotel window. And that is pretty much the sum total of the serious incidents list. We do know that CASA hand out around 50 aviation infringement notices, or AINs, per year here in Australia to drone owners. These infringements are usually because someone was flying a drone over a so-called populous area, such as a beach. But none of these infringements ever seem to result in any injuries to people or damage to property. So then we have the issue of drones and commercial air traffic. The prospect of a drone colliding with a passenger aircraft and causing a crash is, of course, a concern. But statistically, bird strike is far more likely and potentially far more deadly, because you don't just get one bird, they're usually in a bloody great flock. All sightings of drones by aircraft pilots are logged in something called the National Aviation Occurrence Database. This shows that between 2010 and 2023, there were 543 reports of RPA in proximity to aircraft. So that's 543 sightings over 13 years of air traffic in a country with incredibly busy commercial and military flight corridors. That averages out at 41 sightings a year, although, as we'll see, the trend is not curving upwards. There are about 600,000 commercial flights in Australia every year and about 41 drone sightings. And remember, we're talking about sightings here. How many of these 543 sightings recorded over the last 13 years actually were drones? Based on previous experience, such as the Heathrow incident, I would suggest it's not many. There's evidence to be found of drone owners flying drones several kilometres up in the sky, so I'm not arguing that it never happens. But like that Heathrow drone incident, the majority of these sightings by aircrew inevitably turn out to be a bit of floating debris, such as a plastic bag. The number of sightings were growing until the old pandemic hit in 2019, when there were 155 recorded occurrences. Interestingly, the vast majority of these officially recorded pre-pandemic sightings were at Sydney Airport, with only 6 recorded in Melbourne. Now, I realise Sydney's busier than Melbourne, but why is there such a huge discrepancy? Could it be because Melbourne's airport is on the edge of the city and not slap bang wallop in the centre like Sydney's? Could it be there's less airborne detritus, like bits of plastic wafting about in the skies above the pastures and paddocks at Melbourne Airport than over the heavily built up areas around Sydney Airport? Makes you wonder, don't it? One thing's clear: even though the number of commercial flights is slowly returning to pre-COVID numbers, the number of sightings is not. There were just 18 in 2022. Given the number of drones in private ownership in Australia, the minuscule number of so-called serious incidents involving drones, the number of completely uncorroborated drone sightings by aircrew, and the greatly reduced number of officially recorded sightings, we can only conclude that there don't actually appear to be many idiot drone owners out there. So, to summarise: 1. The rules everyone complains about have been in place long before consumer drones became mass market consumer items. 2. There have been no serious incidents involving consumer drones in Australia ever. 3. About 50 drone owners cop a fine every year for minor infringements of the Part 101 regulations. The demonisation of hobbyist drone owners by other drone owners, the mass media and companies that profit from drone licensing and regulation is based on no real evidence of wrongdoing. In 2016, a research paper titled "Exploring Civil Drone Accidents and Incidents to Help Prevent Potential Air Disasters," it's a snappy name in it, but I guess it gets to the point, Australian scientists came to some interesting conclusions. Among the many findings in that paper is the following conclusion that the researchers arrived at. Quote, "It was shown that technology issues, not human factors, are the key contributor in RPAS events." They then went on to say, quote, "This is a significant finding as it is contrary to the industry view which has held for the past quarter of a century that human factors are the key contributor to problem drone events." And finally, they said, quote, "Regulators should therefore look at technologies and not focus solely on operators." So there you have it, guys. After extensive research of all drone-related incidents recorded over more than a decade, the technology was nearly always found to be to blame, not the drone operators. And as we know, the technology has been steadily getting better and better and better for years anyway. The idiot drone owner, the scourge of the consumer drone scene. They're undoubtedly out there, but don't believe the hype. Idiots exist in all walks of life and across all hobbies and pastimes, but there is zero evidence that the drone scene attracts more than its fair share of dickheads. If that figure of 50 AIN notices is the official metric of idiots per year, then compare that to official incidents in other hobbies and pastimes such as, I don't know, car enthusiasts. Okay guys, that'll do us for this little video. Are you an idiot drone operator? Have you ever got into trouble with the man for flying your drone somewhere you shouldn't? Did you cop a fine? Or did you simply chance upon an SD card dropped by someone who did? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed my video, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more drone and photography related content from me. Till the next time, guys. Ta-ta.